You're watching Reality Check. Since the Pulwama attack, India has been on edge. The question on everyone's mind is India going to war? The war rumours have become real though for the people in Kashmir. Till about 24 hours ago, there was panic and tension in the valley. The sudden presence of a large number of troops, rumours of food shortages, queues at petrol pumps, a large number of separatist and Islamist leaders who were detained, over 150 politicians who were stripped of their security cover. And to add fuel to the fire, the Supreme Court meant to hear a batch of petitions seeking to revoke Article 35A, which prevents outsiders from owning land in the Kashmir Valley. It didn't help that there was a prolonged silence through all of this from the government. Now there is calm. After the governor finally clarified, he said that the troops were brought in ahead of elections for no other reason, and that the fuel shortage was linked to a highway blockade. The governor's office also says that they've requested the Supreme Court to defer the hearing on 35A till there is an elected government in the valley. All of this, though, raises questions over the centre's strategy in the valley, as it seeks to shape a response against Pakistan to the Pulwama attack. Is it setting, instead of dousing, fires in an already simmering valley? Mehbooba Mufti said this about the move to scrap 35A just a short while ago.
आग के साथ मत खेलिए, 35A के साथ फिडल मत कीजिए। अगर आपने ऐसा किए, इसके नताइज इतने खतरनाक होंगे जितना आपने 1947 से लेके आज तक कभी जो नहीं देखा है वो देखने को मिलेगा। अगर इस पे अटैक होता है तो मुझे नहीं मालूम कि जम्मू कश्मीर के लोग तिरंगे को छोड़ के कौन सा झंडा उठाने के लिए मजबूर हो जाएंगे।
Which flag will the people of Jammu and Kashmir be forced to pick up if the government decides to scrap, or if the Article 35A is scrapped? Very, very serious, very disturbing words from Mehbooba Mufti. Joining us tonight on the show, we have with us Shah Faisal, who's the former IAS officer, who we believe might be on his way to making a political debut. We have Syed Suhail Bukhari, who's the media advisor to Mehbooba Mufti. Seshadri Chari, strategic affairs expert, is joining us from Mumbai, and from Jammu via Skype, Anuradha Jamwal, executive editor, Kashmir Times of Jammu. Now, Faisal, if I can just start with you. With everything that has happened in the valley in the past several days, one of the things that happened was the removal of security cover of a number of people, including you. Tell us about that. What sort of security cover did you have, by the way, to begin with?
I think that's one of the least significant steps which has been taken in the last couple of days.
I know, but I just want to ask you first, because it involves you. We're going to obviously broaden the debate.
So,
but what kind of cover did you have?
Security cover is there's a group of people who are called protected persons. So if you have a threat perception, I was in civil services, I was in government, so I've been doing very sensitive postings. So in any case, the security used to be there.
Right. So you always had that
I always
cover
had
as an IAS officer?
As an officer. This was not something which had been specially given to me. I'm not somebody who's a VIP or who has Z security and then you can take all the detail away. So, but then there was an order that security has to be taken away along with many other politicians.
And it's gone now for you, the security?
The order is possibly being implemented shortly. So it takes some time, because in any case, I didn't have too much security which was to be taken away. So maybe some of them are being taken away, and then maybe I'll be left with 3 or 4 people. But I don't want to give away all the details of security because this is a sensitive information.
Of course, it's sensitive information, but is that as a move something which worries you?
I think it does. It also reflects some kind of thoughtlessness which is there in the government, more so the state government, because when you are dealing with a crisis like this, where 44 people are dead and 2 countries are almost at the brink of a war, then believing that maybe taking security away from some people will possibly help. But I think it's more like pressing wrong buttons.
You think it's pressing a wrong button at this time?
I think it's like pressing wrong buttons and not exactly doing enough thinking about the causes, consequences, and possible resolution and possible...
I'm curious about why, though, because I can understand they're wanting to strip the security cover of separatists. But why would they want to strip the security cover of people like yourself who, as far as I understand, you may have quit the IAS, but you're still very much committed to the political mainstream?
I believe in electoral politics. I believe in engaging with the democratic space. But then at the same time, I have been very critical of the steps taken by the government in the last 1 decade, more so last 4 to 5 years. So I think somewhere it may be due to the possible disagreements with my views or my way of kind of politics which I have been doing in the valley.
It's almost like, you're saying it's almost like settling scores? Like a kind of
That's how
vendetta?
I think fundamentally it's about how bureaucracies work. So I have been part of bureaucracy, so maybe bureaucracies usually take thoughtless steps at times. I just believe that, I just hope that it's something like that.
Okay. We actually have Omar Abdullah as well on the show. I spoke to him earlier. I'm going to go across to him in just a second. But I want to get a quick comment from Seshadri Chari before I do that. That Seshadri Chari, as I said, it would still be justified if the government was to strip the security cover of separatists and others who do not believe in the constitution, who have an extremist viewpoint. But why target those like Shah Faisal, who are committed to the political mainstream and who are committed to the constitution? Isn't that counterproductive? Isn't that just stoking more and more tension in the valley?
No, I think security cover varies from person to person and from situation to situation. So if someone thinks that there is a great danger to his life because of the stand that he is taking, he will have to specify it to the government of India and also to the state government. Some of the security levels are with the state government also. I think the minimum security level, that is security X and security Z also, even up to Z plus is with the state government.
Yeah.
So he can easily approach the, anyone can approach the governor right now. And if the governor feels, and if the administration really feels, and I am sure the administration will take a very logical stand on these issues.
But Mr. Chari, his security cover...
The security cover of some of these people have been withdrawn because of the track record.
Yeah, but why club people who are part of mainstream political narrative, the mainstream political process in Kashmir like Shah Faisal, why strip his security cover along with those of separatists? What kind of symbol, what kind of message are you sending?
See, the security cover has been withdrawn. Security cover of a number of people have been withdrawn. Once this circular goes out, all these things happen. Therefore,
but why?
It is for the individual concerned to approach the government, and the government will take. That is how the administration is functioning. This is what happens.
I think government
When you have a
already.
blanket.
I think, Mr.
Decision
Chari, government already has the
withdraw
inputs who are the
security.
people who are vulnerable, who are the people in the field, what kind of politics they are doing. I think in spite of that, if the governor's administration has chosen to strip people of their security cover, I think it somewhere does reflect a sense of thoughtlessness, a sense of lack of imagination of the governor's administration.
Okay, let me just bring in...
I don't think so. I don't think it is a question of lack of imagination.
I cannot go to the governor's administration and tell them, come on, give me
Shah
police
Faisal
security.
can approach the
Okay.
governor. Yeah.
Okay.
And if you don't think you cannot go to the governor, that means you don't fear.
No,
That
because
means
the
you should
governor
be
has the
fearful,
inputs.
fearless as
Governor
far
has
as
the
your political
intelligence
ramifications
agencies
are
are there to
Okay, don't have
inform
any-
the governor.
if you
Governor
don't
doesn't
have
need my
any worry,
inputs.
Okay,
If you
all
are
right.
not afraid,
Governor doesn't
There
need
is
my
no
inputs,
reason why you
sir.
should not go to
Governor
the
has
governor.
intelligence agencies to inform him about
Okay,
the
okay,
ground
all right.
situation.
Let me just go across to Sohail Bukhari for a second. Sohail, those were very strong words from Mehbooba Mufti. What is she trying to say? I mean, I understand that the valley has been on edge. We understand that there has not been clarification. It was a delayed clarification from the center. But for her to say that if you push ahead with 35A, you need to be careful about whose flag will be hoisted in the valley. What does that mean?
Vasu, if you look at the developments ever since the Pulwama incident, it seems that the government of India is at war with the people of Jammu and Kashmir. You look at how the Kashmiris were hounded across the length and breadth, and what kind of tactical support, as if I may say, were they getting from the powers that be. You had no less than a governor of a state advocating boycott of Kashmiris and not a single word from anyone.
No,
The Prime Minister kept mum for 8 days. No, listen.
But
to
on
me.
Mehbooba,
That
what
was
she
followed
said.
with the correct. Yes. That's
About
what
the
I'm
flag.
coming on to.
About the
Later
flag.
on, you see what's happening on ground. Yes, of course. Because let's understand the truth that there is. Muslim majority Jammu and Kashmir took a conscious decision of acceding to a secular India, and that decision was based on certain agreements between the two entities. And the most important aspect of it was that this Muslim majority character, this special status would
Yes.
be there,
Yes.
and there would be constitutional guarantee to it.
Yes.
Now when we are threatened, I think it's only rational for a well-meaning and rational political leader to come out and tell everyone what they are indulging in and what the ramifications could be on ground.
And
If
what are
that
those
hurts someone,
ramifications?
God help.
That Kashmir will secede, will pick up the Pakistani flag? What are these ramifications? Is that what you're saying?
The ramifications are that the legitimacy that accord or the agreement between Jammu and Kashmir and Union of India has, that legitimacy would stand voided. That will be null and void. Let's accept that.
Okay, I want to get I want to get a quick response from you, Shah Faisal, before I go across to Omar Abdullah. Is that too extreme for Mehbooba Mufti to say that if you scrap 35A, you don't know whose flag the people of Kashmir
But
are
I
going
think
to hoist?
I think somewhere Mahbooba ji is echoing the ground sentiment. This is how basically people in Kashmir are feeling at the moment about Article 35A. Article 35A, it's a very unique article which has become an article of faith. It's a time when people are defending Indian Constitution, an article of Indian Constitution.
Okay. All right. I'm sure Shishadji Chari will want to come in on that. But before that, let me just go across to Omar Abdullah, who I spoke with earlier today. Omar Abdullah, thanks so much indeed for joining us. Now, I want to ask you, the governor came out with a detailed statement yesterday where he tried to defend what exactly was going on in the valley. He said the security that was brought in, the very large number of troops, is just because of the elections, and that the petrol shortage is only because of a highway blockage and so on. Do you buy this explanation?
Well, I mean, it's a little difficult to buy because, I mean, the wording of the orders was worrisome. I mean, it talked about an emerging situation, about law and order disturbances. I mean, the fact that these troops had to be rushed in by air, 100 companies. I mean, the election dates haven't been announced yet. In fact, the Election Commission hasn't even visited Jammu and Kashmir yet. They're expected next week sometime. So even if this was a build-up in anticipation of the elections, those elections are, I mean, if they're held, hopefully on time, they're to be held in April, May and June. So why suddenly having to fly them in overnight doesn't make sense. But chaliye, we'll give the benefit of the doubt to the governor and his administration. It's just that this, as I said, the tension, the rumors, all the worry. It wasn't an overnight development. It had been simmering. The government should have stepped in earlier and corrected the perception that people had.
So that in that sense then, do you blame people for panicking?
I don't blame them. I mean, I had sleepless nights. I was worried about what was going to happen because, as I said, nobody was talking to us. Nobody in a position of authority was able to tell us exactly what was going on. I mean, I'm just glad that Dr. Saab spoke to the Home Minister, and from then on there was a flurry of activity and things were calmed down. But I mean, it shouldn't have taken that conversation. This is the problem when you have an administration that has very little contact with people. I mean, this is the difference between an elected government and a nominated government. And an elected government would have never allowed the situation to reach this point. An elected government would have had its finger on the pulse of people. It would have reached out and taken corrective measures much earlier. But that's our misfortune.
Right. So when you said Dr. Saab, you meant, of course, Dr. Farooq Abdullah. But, you know, prior to this, of course, there were those wave of detentions of separatist leaders, Islamist leaders as well, and also the stripping of security cover of leaders from across the political spectrum. Do you think that this was a necessary measure at this point?
Well, let's first talk about the mainstream political leaders who have had their security stripped. I think that was untimely and an unwise decision. Because on the one hand, you have the Election Commission talking about elections. You have the governor saying that this additional security forces are being brought in to prepare for elections. And on the other hand, the people that are going to be part of this electoral process, either in the form of candidates or campaigners or backroom operatives, are having their security stripped and their mobility taken away from them. So, I mean, how are you helping the election process by stopping mainstream political operatives from doing their work? I mean, take for example somebody like Shah Faisal. How is it that while he was a government officer, his threat perception required him to have security, yet the moment he leaves government service and becomes a mainstream political operative, then suddenly his threat vanishes altogether and he requires no security at all? Now this doesn't make sense to me. As for the separatist leaders, as for the separatists, look, successive governments have felt for one reason or another the need to protect these people. And this is not a recent phenomenon. Whether it has been governments led by the BJP or governments led by the Congress, for reasons of intelligence, for reasons best known to those governments, a decision was taken to protect these individuals. And this protection withstood all sorts of other attacks. It withstood the Parliament attack, it withstood the 26/11 Mumbai attacks, it withstood the 2016 Uri strike and every other militant attack in between.
So you think that that it's justified that now it should be taken away, the security cover of these separatists? That it was long overdue?
I'm talking about the separatists. The previous governments felt that there was a reason to protect them. This government feels otherwise. So be it. They are obviously privy to more information than I'm privy to. I was Chief Minister of the state for 6 years. It's no secret that during my government this protection was provided on the advice and inputs of the central government. Today the central government feels otherwise. Let's not forget that these separatist leaders are also not immune to threat. In the past, separatist leaders that have been willing to engage Government of India in a dialogue have been targeted. No less a person than Mirwais Maulana Farooq Sahab in the early 90s, and then Abdul Ghani Lone Sahab in 2002. They have been assassinated because of their willingness to engage Government of India in talks. This government has decided not to accord security to the separatists. That was their decision.
Now, finally, I just want to ask you, Umar, that you have been saying that the elections should go ahead on schedule despite the fact that the Pulwama attack has taken place, the situation is tense. Still, you're saying that this is a test of the Modi government.
If you want those forces to win, by all means, let the elections be postponed. But again, I'm making this point. In 2014, you had Parliament and Assembly elections on time. Subsequent to that, you've had 5 years of the Modi government. Has the Prime Minister Modi government mishandled Kashmir to such an extent that for the first time since 95-96, you won't be able to have elections on time? This is a question only Prime Minister Modi and his government can answer.
All right, Omar Abdullah, thanks very much indeed for that. Let me just go to Seshadri Chari, and then I'm going to come to Anuradha Jambal, who's been sitting in patiently. Seshadri Chari, a situation now where you have Mehbooba Mufti saying if you push ahead with 35A, we don't know which flag will fly in the valley. Omar Abdullah saying for the first time, will you have to postpone elections, a sign that the Modi government's policy in Kashmir has failed? Surely you would concede that something is going wrong.
No, I don't know about postponing elections. I don't think government is ever thinking of postponing elections. I think they will be held on time, and all these troop movement and other things also are all part of the election machinery. And I think all these troops and everything, once the elections are announced, all this will be handed over to the election commission machinery, which will do its job. I think the elections will be conducted on time.
Okay.
And all those political leaders who have stake in the elections, all those political leaders who believe that election should be held, should cooperate with the local administration, state administration, and see to it that they don't whip up this kind of passion, they don't whip up this kind of feelings, which unfortunately Mehbooba Mufti is doing. I think she is absolutely wrong on what she is saying. She should be, this is the time when, this is the testing time for her.
Right.
This is the time when she should be with the Indian Army, she should be with the governor, she should be with the central government on these issues. You cannot fight the battle against terrorism by
Right.
speaking such words. She is absolutely doing a great harm to the cause of fight against terrorism.
Okay, I'll
And
just
someone
come-
just mentioned
Yeah.
something about article of document of accession. Let me tell you, this is the copy of accession document,
Yeah.
which was signed by the Maharaja. And
Yes.
I don't see the words Article 307 or 35A anywhere in this document. So I don't understand
you
from
mean,
where these
Article
people get the
370.
idea that it was
Yeah.
it was a conditional accession. It was an unconditional accession. This is the same document that every Maharaja signed, every state signed,
Right.
every Samsthan signed with the Dominion of
Okay,
India.
I know-
There
I
is
know that-
no mention of Article 370.
Okay, I know
or
that Sohail
35A.
Bukhari wants to come in, and I'll come to you, Sohail Bukhari, but if I can just bring in Anuradha Jamwal. Anuradha Jamwal, what do you make of this? Do you think that there is a serious need for the centre to rethink its strategy in terms of the rising tensions we're seeing in the valley? Or is it also now, as Shadri Chari is saying, it's really the responsibility of these mainstream parties not to stoke the flames?
Look, the responsibility lies on everybody's shoulders, but at the end of the day, who's in power? And that's a bigger question. Who's in power? The onus, the bigger onus has to be shared by the government. It has to be their initiative. They have disempowered the mainstream parties by suddenly pulling out of the coalition government, by bringing in a governor's rule. And when two mainstream parties were trying to get together with Congress and form an alliance, and there was a complete branding of them as separatist forces. I don't see how much power they enjoy in kind of rectifying what is happening in Kashmir. They do not have a hold on what forces are doing. They do not have a hold on the kind of rumor mongering that is taking place, which is spreading a great deal of panic. Even as we speak, even now, today in the valley, we hear of some universities being, asked to vacate, get the hostels vacated.
Right.
So these kind of things are creating a kind of psychological impact in the valley, and I don't see what kind of role the mainstream parties, who are clueless themselves about what is happening, would be playing. So it's basically a government's initiative. It is the job to ensure
you're saying it's a center.
stability and security in the valley, not create more insecurity and
not
more
create
sense
more
of
insecurity.
panic. So,
all right. Sohail Bukhari, yes.
So I'll start with the point that Mr. Sheshadri Chari was trying to make.
Yes,
He
briefly.
thinks at a time when we are facing an onslaught from the government of India, left, right and center, Mehbooba Mufti and PDP should be standing with Mr. Modi.
Yes.
I'm sorry, sir, we do not belong to RSS. We are not any affiliate of the Sangh. We are a political party that represents the sentiments and the people and their aspirations of the Jammu and Kashmir state. So please rest assured, we are only going to represent what the sentiment on ground is, and not going to align with your government in center while you
But
bulldoze
don't
us and
stoke
while
sentiments
you
also,
let
he's saying.
reign of terrorists.
But okay.
You should also,
We are
I
only
think,
representing them. We are not
The
stoking
of the
them.
people of Kashmir is that there should be terror attacks.
Okay, wait.
What are you talking about the sentiments
And
of
Mr.
the
Sir,
Chari,
that
when
is-
you
that is
talk
how we
about-
would want-
You represent-
Okay,
that
if you
is
want
how
to
we
speak at
would
once,
want-
nobody can hear.
That is what you...
I represent the views of Kashmir. I represent the views of Kashmiris as much as you do it. And
Okay.
I know.
Yes,
It's a
yes,
fight
sir. No,
against
no, sir. There's a
terrorism.
difference.
It's
We are
not
a
Okay, we're running out of
party
time.
which was-
We're running out of
That is
time.
a difference.
Are we out of
No, no,
time?
listen.
If you are
We're out.
No,
Okay,
we
we're
are
out of
with the
time, gentlemen.
largest political party of the state.
Let
Let's
decide,
Okay, gentlemen,
decide on
gentlemen.
whose side.
Okay.
Decide in
Not
advance
studios, please.
on whose side are you.
Okay. Let's leave it there. We're out of time. I wanted to keep this going, and I wanted to ask Shah Faisal a little bit more about his political plans. Shah Faisal, elections, if they happen on time, are you going to be part of it?
I want to participate in elections, but I would say that at this time it's not about elections, it's about existence first. For last 3 days it has been horrible. We have really felt like that the jets are going to crash on our heads.
I understand that.
I
but
just
when you
hope
say-
that situation first
Okay,
improves
but I
and then we can
appreciate
talk
that.
about elections. Yeah.
Okay, but I appreciate that. But when you say that you are going to be part of it, Have you decided, are you going to be joining any of these existing parties, or are you going with your own?
We are not going to be joining any existing party. We are going to start our own party. I want to make that announcement today from the NDTV studio.
Okay, you're making that announcement tonight on NDTV.
Yeah.
You're starting your own party.
Absolutely.
Do you have a name for it?
I would
Now
wait
that
for
you've
that.
gone, now that you've gone all in, go all the way.
Because the name needs approval of the Election Commission. I have filed a representation there, so I'll need some more time before I can reveal the names as well.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, anyway, that's still a big announcement, Shah Faisal. We wish you all the very best, and we wish for peace and calm in the valley, of course. Thank you all so much for joining us on the show. That's it on Reality Check. Thanks for watching. Good night.